Girl, 3, died after seizure in airport on final day of Dream Family Holiday. Metro News. 135, 6M shares. A little girl died after suffering a seizure at an airport at the end of a Dream Family holiday in the Maldives. Ava Akers, 3, was rushed to hospital where she fell into a coma and had to be transferred to Bangkok after collapsing ahead of the first part of the family's flight home. The family then made a traumatic 24-hour journey back to the UK on a medical plane, and Ava ended up on the high dependency unit at Birmingham Children's Hospital. There, doctors gave the Akers the devastating news that the Ava they knew was gone as she was severely brain damaged. She died at home. Phil and Helen, from Shropshire, decided to launch a charity called Ava's Angels in her memory, taking food and essential items into Birmingham Children's Hospital to support families in their greatest time of need. Today, Phil, who works for a global digital IT firm, told their moving story. He said Ava was a perfectly healthy 3-year-old, enjoying ballet, swimming, preschool, and looking forward to starting school in September. We're keen travelers and had taken her to Dubai, Abu Dhabi, Switzerland, Italy, Cyprus and Barbados among other places. She loved traveling. Wednesday had a brilliant holiday in the Maldives in March 2017, catching a seaplane to the island we were staying on, watching stingrays being fed, catching hermit crabs on the beach and snorkeling, which she took to straight away. We were at the airport on the mainland about to get our flight back to Dubai and then on to Birmingham when we asked her if she'd like to choose something from the gift shop as a souvenir. She dropped it, which was unlike Ava as she was never clumsy. Then she dropped onto the floor having an atonic seizure. Her eyes rolled back. Helen caught her and I picked her up and ran around the airport asking for help. She was choking. I'd never seen a child have a seizure before, it was so scary. Ava later recovered and was transferred to a larger hospital. Her dad added she went back to normal, singing, dancing, eating and watching the Trolls movie on the iPad. She loved that film. The doctors thought she'd had a throat infection and urine infection. The compound effect. We felt so lucky that she was going to be okay. But that afternoon, the doctors did an MRI scan and lumbar puncture to look at the cerebral spinal fluid in her head to check it wasn't meningitis. They showed me the MRI and I could see it was dreadful. There were 2 white large areas that showed swelling happening in Ava's brain. They said we'd got to get her to another hospital and at this point she fell into a coma. The family were later flown to one of the best private hospitals in the world, in Bangkok. Ava had further tests and was put on a life support machine. Her responsive rate. She was catered transferred back to the UK, and spent 3 days there. His dad said she was taken off the life support machine as she began to breathe for herself. It was fantastic, but she never opened her eyes. Ava was then transferred to Birmingham Children's Hospital's high dependency unit and spent 3.5 months there in recovery. However, she remained dystonic throughout and her muscles began wasting away. The little girl's eyes. Phil said, after 4 months as inpatients in the hospital, the doctors asked us if we wanted to start palliative care or if we wanted the life support machine to keep her alive. We decided to start on palliative care because we felt it was the kindest thing we could possibly do when you have a child who is so severely poorly. She had no quality of life. We continued to bring her home and, it was at home, on July 29th, that our beautiful girl Ava passed away. Epstein-Barr virus encephalitis affecting children is so rare that none of the consultants we met from the UK and overseas have ever seen a patient with this condition, and cannot explain why this happened, which is very difficult for us to understand. While we lived at the hospital bedside with Ava, we were extremely lucky to have family and friends who supported us. bringing us food, supplies, and emotional support in what was the worst time of our lives. When you're doing this, you forget to eat and drink and look after yourself. Dead rats used to smuggle drugs and mobile phones into prison. UK-based Tabor has become oldest in the world. Theresa May offers no concessions at crucial Chequers Crunch talks. Inspired by Eva and seeing the importance of support while caring for a poorly child, we launched Eva's Angels in March 2018 to provide support to families of sick children during hospital stays. We recognize not all families have this support, and we want to help them by growing our network of supporters, volunteers, and sponsors. We have recently been working with Birmingham Children's Hospital and will have an official launch on Saturday, April 6th. Lentidity code excerpt. Share your results.
Raindrop, drop top smoking, no cooking the hot pot. Fucking on your bitch, yeah, that. Looking up, open the park pot.